I love Mythic Plus. I love what they did with the system. The only reason I'm ranting and complaining about this is because I love Mythic Plus so much. I want this to be improved. I want this to get better. I want Blizzard to build on top of this because I honestly feel Mythic Plus is one of the best concepts that they have introduced in the recent years. And it clearly separates the retail from classic. But that's another story. Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and today I haven't done a little rant discussion video for a very long time, and I thought it's Christmas, why not rant about something about in a video game that doesn't affect my real life at all. But here we go. Let's talk about something that I wanted to address for a really long time, because Mythic Plus. We're going to be talking about Mythic Plus, we're going to be talking about Mythic Plus balance, we're going to be talking about affixes, class balance, we'll be talking about dungeons, we'll be talking about dungeon balancing, we'll be talking about patch 8.3. But just looking back a couple of weeks ago at the really juicy Mythic Plus push week. So that was Fortified, Bursting and Volcanic. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and there was a phenomenon. People went Mythic Plus crazy. Everybody was doing Mythic Plus. Everyone was doing high Mythic Plus keys. There was a lot of hype about it. Everyone in my guild were doing it. There were so many groups, even on Alliance. Yes, Alliance does Mythic Plus. And it was insane. It just felt like the whole community was like, man, we gotta push this week. We gotta get this high score. And it makes sense. It's the end of the patch. Everyone has high gear. And the affixes are easy. Now, this kind of highlighted a huge problem. Look at this week right now. Fortified, teaming, and quaking. And on top of that, look at teaming in Mythic Plus dungeons. Blizzard just randomly puts in these mobs on top of emissaries, and all of a sudden you have these impossible pulls. Motherload, trash back before the second boss. Temple of Centralis, trash back before the third boss. Absolutely insane at hierarchies. Like, everyone will be skipping them, without a doubt. They're so mindlessly dumb. Because I've actually attempted to do some of these trashback pulls without realizing how ridiculously hard they are. They are so insanely hard if you're just gonna go in willy-nilly, not caring about taking out the emissary or CCing the emissary or whatever. You're just gonna YOLO, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, this game is broken. This affix is broken. So I just wanted to talk about affix balance. It is, in my eyes, it is insanely sad to see that once in 8 weeks or twice in 8 week affix scheduling period, you'll have these really insanely strong push weeks where everybody will try and get the highest key done. Everyone will try, take time off work, forget about their family, get out of here, little Timmy, I don't care about you, go feed yourself. Daddy has to play Mythic Plus this week because next 7 weeks are really bad. And it feels terrible in my eyes to see this affix balance being so bad. I was severely burnt out for that week because I did so many Mythic Plus. I felt like that I have to do Mythic Plus for this week because next week is so bad. And Blizzard has to do something about this. Affix balance has been so bad in my eyes that, let's say you have a lot of free time this week and you want to push Mythic Plus with a group of friends who took time off or have time to push, because sometimes scheduling time is hard, especially with a group of friends and things like that. So you have this fortifying, teaming, quaking week. And all of a sudden in your mind, every dungeon you do, every single dungeon that you're going to be doing this week, you'll be thinking, I could have had a much easier time last week. I could have gotten a +2 in this dungeon. I could have done a +20 instead of an 18 easily last week compared to this week. And all of a sudden your desire to push this week, at least for me, I would love to hear your opinion about this. My desire to push is severely reduced. I just want to get the weekly done, and I'm just gonna wait those 4 weeks until I get the new affix where, you know, it's going to be relatively easy. Blizzard's affix pairing and combinations need a really hard look at, because Blizzard's initial design was to have each dungeons and each affixes feel relatively close in difficulty. Because look at Mythic Plus. In Mythic Plus, in early stages, you are able to delete your keystone halfway through the dungeon, so everyone in the party could do this. Delete their keystone and get a new key. So all of a sudden, everyone started doing that because, for example, they got King's Rest. Maybe they got Shrine of the Storm and they don't want to do it and they want to get a new keystone. And Blizzard completely removed this because their design idea was that every key should feel relatively good in terms of difficulty. And I understand that because it makes no sense having certain keys or certain dungeons feel a lot easier and more or better. You want every key to have an equal representation, but that doesn't happen. Even to this day, everyone freaking hates King's Rest. King's Rest, there's so many different, or there's so many abilities that are just stupid. For example, the axe debuff on the third boss, compared to every other ability in the game at the same level of the keystone, feels insanely overtuned. The amount of damage that it deals is insane. You can't dodge it. There are special ways to dodge it with Demon Hunter and things like that, which very few people know. But generally speaking, the axe debuff on King's Rest is insane. And if you look at the Zul skip, which is achievable by certain few classes, Demon Hunters, you can do it as Resto Jude if you have Guardian or Balance Affinity. Those classes become mandatory in order to do the Zul skip. So all of a sudden, these kind of issues, I mean, how hard can it be to reduce the axe debuff damage? It seems like it could be one line of code. Or how hard would it be to remove the Zul skip or make Zul, the actual mob, be less crap? So this video is all about calling out for more frequent changes to Mythic Plus. It's calling out about better balance in terms of affixes because affix weeks, certain affix weeks feel really, really bad. So I just want to highlight some of the things that I feel need changing or just feel bad. First of all, like I mentioned before, affixes. Affix balance from week to week does not feel the same. This needs to be addressed to make Mythic Plus more fun and more enjoyable for everybody, in my opinion. Some of the dungeons, Toll the Gore, needs to be, I don't know, removed. Let's just say Toll the Gore, we tried, it didn't work. The amount of wall skips, the amount of level skips, or not skips per se, pulls. You can pull multiple different trash packs from through walls, through different levels. Everyone's too close. Your nameplates, you can see all of the nameplates of every mob from different floors. It's just all over the place. Affixes like Quaking or Sanguine in these small spaces make Toll the Gore honestly the worst dungeon that Blizzard has ever implemented. If you don't have these bad affixes, there is recourse to kind of get rid of the nameplates. If you play it really carefully without using certain AoE abilities, you can make Toll the Gore a decent dungeon. You won't pull through walls, affixes, or, you know, if you don't have Quaking, if you don't have Sanguine, it doesn't feel all that bad. The dungeon is pretty interesting. The bosses are fine. But for those weeks, when you get those bad affixes, if you have certain classes that pull through walls, this dungeon is insanely bad. There's just too many variables that make this dungeon insanely bad. So I feel Toll the Gore just overall needs some major changes, or Blizzard should really have a look at making dungeons, or dungeons with small spaces, that they need to be addressed, or at least there needs to be a better way of coding it in order to make these small space dungeons feel good. Because overall, I prefer these large dungeons with open spaces far more than these enclosed dungeons where camera angles become an issue, where you're pulling through walls, where nameplates become an issue. Just overall, they tried, but I feel small dungeons like Toll the Gore, leveled dungeons like Toll the Gore, might not be the way to go in the new Shadowlands patch and things like that, or Shadowlands expansion. So certain dungeons feel bad. Class balance, again, I could spend 2 hours talking about class balance. Again, this is an ongoing issue. How do you balance classes for PvP, Mythic Plus, and raiding? How do you do that in terms of certain utilities, certain specs like Resto Judes, Demon Hunters, Rogues? They just feel really mandatory because they just don't have shortfalls. They provide everything that you need in a Mythic Plus dungeon. But how do you balance that for raids and maybe PvP as well? Certain people have been talking about adding new talents, like, you know, like PvP talents for Mythic Plus. But again, it feels like there's so many talents that are unutilized right now in the current talent system for classes that they could spend more time fixing the current talents rather than implementing new talents. But that's just my idea. But class balance, again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because this is a really big issue and it's really hard to fix without some really major changes and talent changes. Maybe in Shadowlands it's gonna get better. I feel there should be more frequent changes to certain dungeons that people don't like running, and maybe make them more popular by doing that. That's just my general opinion. It feels at this given moment that Blizzard just looks at plus 15s, because that's where a lot of people have the cutoff. If it works for a plus 15, we're just gonna leave it. They don't look at 19s, 20s, 21s, they don't look at the balance. Because again, I get it, not a lot of people are running plus 20s. You're only appealing to the small minority of people who run these high keys. Why should we invest developer time into changing things for this small group rather than appealing to everybody? But I feel, again, it doesn't feel like a lot of work in my opinion, but this is just what I think. But I want to talk about some of the positive things. I don't want this video to be all negative, all ranting and things like that. 8.3. The new affix looks amazing. Honestly, Awakened looks really, really great. It alleviates some of the issues with shrouding. It alleviates some of the issues with, and this is another point that I should have made, certain dungeons need shroud or need invisibility potion or need multiple rogues, because if you don't have them, you're pulling 130% of trash bags. Like, the dungeons are designed in such a way that you cannot optimally do it without a rogue. So the new Mythic Plus affix, it does feel good. It creates new routes. It makes old dungeons feel like new. Again, I made a video about how these obelisks or these pillars can be soloed by stealth classes, but I feel Blizzard might change that in the future. We'll have to see, because otherwise it's gonna favor these stealth classes again. But overall, I feel the new affix feels really good in terms of new routes, in terms of new dungeon designs, and Blizzard is making changes. They are making changes. They're making quaking feel more relevant or more punishing and rewarding in 8.3. You won't take any damage from quaking if you're the only person in that zone, but you potentially will kill the party if everyone is going to stack. You're going to take more damage. So I feel that's kind of cool. I do want to see more affixes, not only seasonal affixes, but affixes feel more like Kiss Curse. They talked about this before, about making affixes that will have bad effect, but if you deal with the bad effect, you'll get something positive. Maybe secondary stats, maybe health, maybe, I don't know, stealth for a certain period of time. I don't know. There's so many different things that you can implement. They talked about this before BfA was released, but they never actually did anything with this. So hopefully Shadowlands is going to be a good learning experience, in my opinion, in terms of affix balance. Maybe new affixes. Again, it's been a long time since we actually got some new affixes besides the seasonal affixes. And seasonal affixes, a lot of them have been hit and miss, kind of. Infested felt really bad, honestly. It felt more like, I don't know, it felt more like a chore than anything else, while Reaping felt rewarding, Beguiling felt decent, and the new affix Awakened is actually feeling pretty cool. But the general consensus of the video, more frequent Mythic Plus changes, more frequent affix balancing, maybe a new approach to dungeon design in terms of closed spaces, maybe a new approach to class design, maybe how you approach talents, maybe how you approach class utility. But again, I didn't want it to be too ranty. I want your opinions about this. I just feel Mythic Plus they need to look at Mythic Plus a bit more. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know how you feel about this video. I'm actually currently in Germany, so this is a scheduled video. I hope you all having good holidays and having a safe time. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.